mwana wakwa rĩ niĩ ngaciarwo rĩ angĩkorwo nĩ arutwo na kũu gwake arutwo gwake akanjiara rĩ agaciara ithe rĩ tondũ rĩu ndacoka no mũrĩngĩ rĩ mũndũ ũcio rĩ nena mũkana ena ciana ĩ ũyũ wakwa gwĩka atĩa
Yupi? Kwani kutumia sasa nyingine? Wewe?
Tũrĩ arakaru mũno ta andũ a mũcakuthi nĩ ũndũ wa mwanake wĩtagwo Ciake endagia thamaki na ndĩ mũrakaru nĩ ũndũ wa mũndũ wĩtagwo Mũthie nĩ mũrata witũ na nĩ mũrata mũhoreri na nĩ mũndũ wĩrutagĩra wĩra wake na ndatinakimo ici rĩu ũrĩa kũrathire nĩ atĩ Mũthie nĩ ararutĩte wĩra wake wega na kĩrĩa aragĩrĩte kwĩ Ciake nĩ mbia ciake aratũmĩtwo nĩ mwanake wĩtagwo Jose ararutĩire Jose wĩra na tondũ Ciake ararĩ na mbia cia Jose rĩ Jose aramwĩra agĩre mbia ciake kwĩ Ciake cirarĩ ciringi 50 rĩu Mũthie kũgĩra mbia rĩ nĩguo Ciake aramwĩrire ena ũhĩ nake Mũthie aramwĩra nawe wĩna ũrĩa mũingĩ tondũ Ciake nĩ aragia nĩ mũndũ mũtũrĩku na no tuge mũndũ mũtũrĩku ti mũndũ mũkinyanĩru meciria ona ndabataire gũkorwo akĩendia thamaki tũtimenyaga nginya kũrĩa arutaga thamaki icio ciake au nĩho rĩu aramũnyitire aramũgucũrũria na kũu thutha na aroya kahiũ ĩyo nĩ statement ĩrĩa mwanake ũrĩa wĩ thibitarĩ igoti mũtwarire aheire aroya kahiũ maranjia kũng'ang'ana rĩu statement ĩrĩa Ciake borithi iria maratũhe nĩ atĩrĩrĩ araugire aragũthirwo na higa na ndanagũthwo na higa nĩ mũndũ
tondũ nĩ agiĩte anake o bũrĩa kwabotekeka na gũka gwĩtia mbeca cia tarĩu tani njoka njetia mbeca bewe gũtebingwo angĩmbe mbeca kĩa thayũ no nginyagia twambĩrĩrie kũthũmbũrana nake acoke atonye nyomba oe kĩbanga kana oe kabiũ rĩu bwaĩta tondũ nĩ aratemire Mũthie na Mũthie ndararĩ na ũru arathiĩte gwĩtia mbeca ciake nĩoke o rĩu atharie nyomba ĩno yake athiĩ kana erete kũ ithuĩ atwaraithie nĩ ate kũrathiaga nĩ ciringi 50 na mũndũ ũcio ena ciana ararĩra oke atwĩre ũrĩa arenda na borithi icio ũrona iaba gũkũ tũtũraga twagagagua gũkũ gũtĩ ũndũ tũmba twabota kwĩkĩra ũtukũ gũkũ twagagagua kwaga.
Do you know what that means to somebody who cannot move from one place to the other to seek services? The kind of savings on productivity that it brings, but it also means something. If you meet a Kenyan who has no digital skills, you see how challenging this is going to be? So I appreciate you when you said that ALU has an emphasis and a focus on digital skills, because actually Kenya increasingly is a frontline consumer of digital skills in order to access digital services, Conversations around cyber hygiene are now every day in central government. Why? Because central government is a critical holder of sensitive data. This is the case for universities, for private sector, and the like. Conversations around cyber security and the systems and platforms we've put in place. Issues of data protection and privacy. And you recall just a few days ago there were allegations of a data leak, remember? And those issues now are top-line conversations because you cannot afford to compromise digital transformation with these kind of setups. So where does this leave us when we reimagine a conversation around education? I speak a lot, so now I draw to an end. I fully embrace the
so we can take this podium out. And as they do that, I was listening to, part of me was discussing it with my neighbor at the table, those experiences that you thought, why are we doing this? In our class, we made booties. 106 students that we were those days in Kenya knitting booties. What were out there? So I guess there's a lot to think. Even from, earlier invite Veda. I'd like to invite Ms. Wanjau and Dr. Milton help us formally launch the ALU 2025 Africa Workforce Readiness Survey. One, two. This education and future careers, and what employers want from their new graduates across 9 African countries. Let's put our hands together once again as we formally launch the ALU 2020 on stepping into the future. African higher education right afterwards. I'd also love to invite us to be part of the online conversation. The hashtag we're using is RIE Nairobi 2025. Please take a picture, share a soundbite, share. All right, ladies and gentlemen, Natasha is the Chief Marketing Officer at the African Leadership University. I will introduce
readiness survey that was shared earlier. A simple yet powerful Moroccan proverb begins to frame this conversation for me. This is the proverb: there is no beauty than the beauty of action. The time to act is now. Let us not wait for change to come from elsewhere. Let us be the change we wish to see. Together, we can reimagine higher education and lay the foundation for an Africa that is not only ready for the future, but is actively shaping it. By us, for us. Thank you.
Group stratosphere. So I wanted to just highlight, some of you maybe a bit more familiar with ALX. Yeah? Anybody knows about ALX? We're all siblings, right? Born from the same family. So the African Leadership Group has been around for about 18 years now. Started in Johannesburg, South Africa, where we started a high school called the African Leadership Academy, where we find the best and the brightest from all over the continent, including in Kenya. We have some amazing Kenyan students who've been with us for the last 18 years. And then from there on, we decided that, well, if we're going to build a high school to train leaders for Africa, but then we often end up losing a lot of those top talent to the West, a topic I will come back to in a bit, then we have to do better. Hence came the idea of the African Leadership University, a university by Africans, for Africans, but that is absolutely globally competitive and relevant. We began that journey in 2014 and welcomed our very first students in 2015, some of whom are in the room today, which is crazy. It's 10 years ago, can you imagine? We've been, and then from there on, we founded a campus in Rwanda, the African Leadership University of Rwanda. We have a business school. And about 5 years into that process, Fred Swanica, who many of you may know, the founder of the African Leadership Group, decided to launch ALX. Came out of a necessity, right? That higher education, was it fit for purpose? Was it serving the needs of the continent fast enough? Maybe not. Were there alternative ways to think about how do you bring education and skilling of young people to the market? And hence we came up with the idea of ALX. Actually, we started ALX right here in Kenya, in Nairobi, and now it's grown massively across the entire continent, serving upwards of 200,000 young people in education, right? But the group who is assembling this gathering today is the African Leadership University. As I said, we have a campus in Mauritius, one in Rwanda. We've got a business school. As you see here, African Leadership University is the one in Rwanda. African Leadership College of Higher Education, which is a university as well, is based in Mauritius. And then we have the School of Business that operates out of Rwanda, but we actually, our programs are fairly hybrid. We move Rwanda, Mauritius, and we hope in Kenya as well. So that was just a little bit of context. Now, Reimagine Education. Who came to Reimagine Education, when was that? 2 years ago? Katya? 2 years ago? 1 year ago? That was last year? Jeez, I'm aging. Who was there last year? Okay, we have a few. Yes, Terian, you were there, I know, yes. We have a few. Okay, I'm asking this because Reimagine Education is a forum that we've began actually right at the time of inception, and I'll tell you more about sort of the raison d'être of the African Leadership University in a bit. And for us, yes, it was about starting a university, but above all else, it was about starting a movement. And for me, those of you who are joining us today, I would like to believe you are here because you care about education, about young people, about the future of young people, about the world of work, right? And at no point did we imagine that the solution we were trying to bring to the marketplace was the only one, or that we would be the only one who would be able to address the needs and opportunities of the continent. Hence why, for me, it is absolutely imperative that it is a movement, and I welcome you today into the movement. Not that you were not already in it, but you know what I mean, right? At this wedding today. Sorry, this gathering today. Terian mentioned it earlier. We commissioned a survey which will sort of be the focal point of our discussions over the course of the day today, which will be very rich in nature. And the reason we commissioned that survey is because
participating in the success of this event. This is our commitment towards the Vision 2030. As a country, we are committed, and these are the things that we are looking at as we continue to roll the African Agenda 2063 and all our vision within Africa, and geared towards revolutionizing how we look at things. The Continental Education Strategy, CESA 2016-2025, the Sustainable Development Goals, and particularly goal number 4 on education, and the Transforming Education Summit 2022, that give a clear goal to human. participate in leadership positions as spelled out in the Universities Act 2012, where student leaders are democratically elected to participate in decision making. So again, leadership skills, we are really, ladies and gentlemen, despite the great effort towards enhancing higher education in Africa, there are more work to be done in integrating artificial intelligence in workforce productivity, which starts at the university education during skilling and reskilling. But there is an imminent danger because now the professors and the postgraduate students, now AI to do the thesis and all that. So we need to also scale up on how we shall do the supervision of our student so that it is not the machine learning and doing the work, but the student are doing the work assisted by the AI. That is a space that we need to continue tightening so that we don't, have students who are not thinkers, because we must have students who are thinking, creative, and that. If we leave the AI to continue doing the thing only, then we are going to lose. So we are trying to configure how do we balance and how do we check the plagiarism and all that. Due to scarcity of resources, all stakeholders should rethink on resilient financing model to enhance sustainability in university operations. And this is not a Kenyan issue, it's a global issue. World over, the government direct funding to universities is going down, from Americas to Europe, everywhere. So I think there must be reimagination on how sustainably we are going to fund our universities so that this, whatever you are thinking about, will be fully funded, fully supported, because we cannot grow. These leadership soft skills, continuous learning, requires resources on a continuous basis. So I think we need to reimagine on how to continue, supporting our universities. Brain drain is an anticipated challenge in higher education, calling for proper talent management strategies. Africa feels threatened by brain drain reality, which calls for political goodwill and mindset shift to capitalize on the strengths. I'm not very scared about it myself, because I think it's not about movement, it's about how we manage our innovations, research outcomes, and how do we manage them so that they are owned within Africa, and whatever goes, it is from Africa. It's not we do it here, goes there, then it comes to us. So I think that's the space. The issue of movement of people to me is not an issue now, because you can still work for an American university when I'm seated there. So the issue of movement is about the knowledge. It's about how do we manage knowledge management and all that. Ladies and gentlemen, we cannot build the future for our youth. It is not our responsibility to build the future for our youth, but we can training them how to become active participants in that particular space. And take away in their business schedule to participate in this variable survey and giving us the way forward and how